What's up? What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome back to another edition of MVP Sports Live. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
So, Dave, how does it feel the first show of month 2? We have now, I mentioned it last Friday, but we have now officially stepped over into a new month of MVP Sports Live.
It's kind of wild. This is month 2. We've had so much news in general in the last month. It feels like it was so jam-packed with so much shit going on, and it's just every angle, you know, whether it was basketball, football, MLB, we even got, an MLS story, we got a WNBA story, but then we hit the national news.
Did we have an MLS story?
I think I talked a little bit about bubble for soccer.
Oh, okay.
Going on over there.
For a second, I was like, I know we had the Messi thing, but that was only a mention.
By the way, Messi thing's still happening.
Yeah.
Still a
dude,
deal. It's
LeBron 2.0. Where is he going to go?
Mm.
He's shaking up the world of soccer.
Still looks like Man City.
It still looks like Man City. Yeah, and the other thing that I think of, what you bringing it up, could you imagine if we were still doing the old format? If it was like, we have to pick 3 topics to talk about, Dave? Just 3 out of everything that's going on.
Might be tough. And only one show a week.
Yeah,
God.
Only one show. We got 5 shows now. But welcome in. If you're unfamiliar to what this is MVP Sports Live, our live sports show every Monday through Friday, where Dave and I take you through the best and sometimes the worst in the sporting news. We kind of run through everything. Before we get into today's show, got a lot of football and basketball with some college at the end on the docket. Let's get housekeeping out of the way. Number 1, join the Discord if you have not already. That link down below on YouTube or on Twitch, !Discord, can get you into the Discord. You can talk with all the fans of MVP, patrons of MVP. The boys are in there. I know one question we had is like, well, are you guys in the Discord, or is it just where fans talk? It's where everybody can talk.
I said we got into like an hour-and-a-half argument over Isaac Okoro literally last week. Post show. So yeah. We're active.
It's amazing. You think of the comment section, but it's heavily moderated, and by heavily moderated, I mean like you're not going to get like the shitlords in there that are just like keyboard warriors. You're going to get the real fans of MVP that want to have discussions. So that link is in Twitch chat right now, or down below in the description. Patreon.com/MVP vids is where you can go and support the channel, support what we do here on MVP Sports, but also MVP Entertainment. Special rewards for those who support us. Like, for example, the Discord, just being a patron alone gets you into watch-alongs, the voice channels, where we basically, like for the NBA, for example, we just watch an NBA game or NBA games lately. And we're basically just hanging out with each other in a voice channel. So go ahead, check out Patreon to support us. Also, thank you to our Patreon supporters, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. Last but not least, you can catch the show live on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVP vids, but they go on YouTube MVP Sports after the fact. You can catch them after we record if you ever miss a live show. But Dave, got a jam-packed show. We're going to start, basically we're going to section this off. We're going to go football, basketball, and then some college. Yes, there was some MLB news with everything with the trade deadline, but basically because the trade deadline went up to basically right before we were going to record. I'm going to see if Jake wants to do something, because Jake's really into baseball, to do something for the trade deadline. Are you saying I don't care about baseball? You care a little bit about baseball, but not as much about baseball.
I can't believe you.
I don't know. I think we have sound recordings on the channel of Dave calling baseball boring. But that's besides the point.
Any fan will tell you it's boring. It's too damn long.
Oh, that's the end. That's the end of Dave's rant.
All.
I was expecting more. There. I was expecting more, but we're going into our first story, the kind of news that shook up the weekend. And the reason why I laugh at this is because you and I recorded our NFL predictions on Friday. And when we got to the Vikings, one of the reasons that you had them at 8-8 was you're like, well, that defense isn't the same. You lost this, you lost this. Well, the Vikings and the Jaguars made a deal that might help out both teams. We're going to kind of talk about what it means for both of them. But Yannick, it's going to help the Jaguars. We will get there. We'll get there, Dave. They've got a plan. Will it work? I don't know. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. But Yannick Ngakoue is on his way, Dave, from the Jaguars to the Vikings. And first off, there were a tweet from Adam Schefter who broke this. Jaguars agree to trade franchise DE Yannick Ngakoue to Minnesota for a second round and a conditional 5th pick that could go as high as the 3rd round, league sources tell ESPN. He still had to sign his tender at this point, but the trade is in place, and Ngakoue is expected to be a Viking. He later came out with more details that conditional 5th becomes a 4th if Ngakoue goes to the Pro Bowl this year, and it'll become a 3rd round pick if 2 things happen. Ngakoue makes the Pro Bowl, and the Vikings have to win the Super Bowl. So if the Vikings win the Super Bowl and Ngakoue goes to the Pro Bowl, if one happens, the other's probably happening also. And what I mean by that, if we win the Super Bowl, he's probably a Pro Bowler, not the other way around.
Yeah, I was like,
then it's a 3rd round pick for them. But Dave, let's get into the Vikings first, because I think this is the easier kind of what it means for them. When it comes to you, because you were the one that was lower on the Vikings, obviously me being a Vikings fan, I was going to be higher on them going into our predictions. Does this move the needle for you at all? Does this say, well, you know what, maybe, just maybe, the Vikings get maybe a win or 2 that I didn't have them have in our predictions?
Un pequeño, like maybe one more win. That's maybe what you traded for, which could mean a lot in the NFC North, because that shit's going to be tight at the top. I mean, everybody but the Lions actually matter, so we'll see. I love the Lions. But I'm sorry, they have no offensive line. Matt Stafford is now a surgically recovered back. Like, there's reason for concern there. He was coming off of a fantastic 8 games where he was obviously an MVP candidate. So Lions, whole different situation. But as far as the Vikings are concerned, I mean, you guys lost veteran leadership. You lost, I think, captains off your defense. And obviously, your best wide receiver. I know you say second best. I still say best. And your offensive coordinator. So, like, adding another pass rusher can't hurt. It can't hurt. Buffing up that defensive line absolutely is a good thing, but it's not necessarily one of the things that I was like, well, if they don't do that, they're not going to win 9 games,
Well, I mean, to me, the thing is, like, I saw an article on ESPN today that even said, like, the Ngakoue trade helps the Vikings, but the work is not done here. Like, this is not a, like, woo, all right, we're ready to go. We're back to where we are. Yeah, it's not a Khalil Mack deal. The thing that I find interesting, though, is there was an article on ESPN that basically said that Ngakoue took a pay cut as part of the Vikings trade, which, I mean, if you're going to win more games, then sure, take a pay cut.
No. It's not that. It's I will take whatever it takes to get me out of the shithole that is Jacksonville right now.
Yeah, good point. Because, I mean, it's not a multi-year deal. It's just the 1 year.
Done, prove it deal.
1 year, $12 million instead of the 17.8. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, does it help the Vikings? Like, it's not going to be like, ooh, it saves them cap space for the future, but, like, it's one of those where, hey, we're not spending as much money this year in case we need to finagle something down the line. But it gives us, like you mentioned, a pass rusher who has the caliber to be a Pro Bowl pass rusher, and you need that when you especially have Aaron Rodgers in your division. Like Daniel Hunter is not bad on the left side. We needed someone on the right side because that was kind of like a let's see who kind of fits there. Like we're taking I can never say his last name right. But Affetti, who was, I believe, he's been with the Browns and the Seahawks, I want to say, before this. Like, he hasn't done anything, though, since being drafted, to where it's like, it was more of like, he's our starter. Let's see what he does. Yeah, by default, where this gives us, like, okay, we've got our lockdown guys on the side with Barr and Kendricks in the backfield. So, like, for the Vikings, I kind of agree. It's an un pequeño upgrade. It kind of solidifies things. Does it necessarily mean we're going to be a 12-game win team? No. But but does it mean like, hey, we might be more of, I think it solidifies us into more of like, hey, this could be like the median for wins is 9 wins, not 8 wins. So it might add, like you said, a win or two to some predictions who are not on the high side. But the meaty part of this, I think, is Jacksonville. And the reason why I say that is because the general thinking here is that the Jaguars are going all in on this year's draft, because I'm going to bring actually our second set of news, what we had as number 2 on the docket. Yeah. I'm just going to bring that into this discussion because it fits as well, where today the Jaguars released, or waived, I should say, Leonard Fournette. So they basically said they're cutting Leonard Fournette. And to me, this is a grand sign of, hey, we're getting picks from the Ngakoue trade. We're getting a second for sure. If the Vikings shock the world and do really well with Ngakoue, we could get a 3rd-round pick out of this. They could be saying
the top 100 last I saw.
Say that
6
one more
picks,
time.
100.
Yep. And they could be a team, I think, that's going for, hey, we're going to tank for Trevor Lawrence.
Clearly.
We're going to get Trevor Lawrence. And then we're going to have so much ammo in those first 100 picks that we're basically going to rebuild our team through this year, through the draft, starting with this year.
Yeah, I mean, they've given up on football. Like, this is a shit team. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to paint, well, we're going to do the best with the guys we got. Great conversation today had by MJD and Pat McAfee. Mm-hmm. MJD, obviously, Reese Jones, Drew, former legend of the Jaguars. The dude sticks up for his team. And I mean, like, he tried to keep a straight face through a lot of that conversation when it came to the constant shit talking about the Jaguars and what they've done and their current roster and how few guys are still there from that great playoff run just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are like 8 guys left. That's it.
Yeah.
They have turned over this roster. And here's the funny thing is, like, they haven't done a terrible job with drafting, but all those guys they got rid of are now on other teams, and they're all really good players still. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I'm concerned about them taking draft picks. I'm concerned about the fact that they can't keep a team together because they're a poorly run franchise. I think the GM is drowning the team. I think one of the funny things they were talking about was, you go after Trevor Lawrence, obviously that number 1 pick. With that's the answer. But then also, who was it? For coach, because you're going to fire your coach after you lose all these games. And there's no way you can't fire Doug Marrone, right? He's their current coach. Mm-hmm. They were talking about who to go after in college. Who's Trevor's? Oh,
I was going to bring him up. Dabo Sweeney. That's what I saw today. Is
Dabo Sweeney going to the Jags with Trevor?
I'm sorry. I saw this and I went, I'm going to bring up the Patrick Kane quote we love to say, Dave. Not a chance, not a chance. Dabo Sweeney leaves the Clemson Tigers because Dabo is basically Nick Saban of Clemson, where he has built that program. He brings guys in year after year after year. They're a good football team. Like in college,
Nick Saban did try in the NFL.
He did try. That was before he was at Alabama, though.
But he did try at Miami. Was a Dolphin for a bit there. But yeah, no, I'm just saying a rumor's a rumor, and would not surprise me if they offered a metric fuck ton of cash to him.
Yeah,
come coach his quarterback going forward.
I saw like that's the thing about college coaches though, where like you kind of think about it, and the ones that I like can think of off the top of my head, like Bill O'Brien came from college. Well, he was with Bill Belichick, then he went to Penn State, then he got the head coaching job with the Houston Texans. So technically, you can say head coach from college when he got the head coaching job. Yeah. But Penn State wasn't like Penn State was in a weird situation because they were coming off of a huge scandal to where Bill O'Brien was kind of like I have to bring this team out of this dark time.
He did a great job.
History. Yeah. Where now it's like
so quick to go from college to the NFL because everybody saw the impact at a very clear level.
Yeah, like how many times did we see, what would it be, Urban Meyer be linked to NFL jobs? Like the only one that I can think of in the recent history that did it and had instant success and would have probably had success if the ownership with this team was not so stubborn to basically be in a big dick contest of like, no, it's us that put this team together, was Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, Stanford, good job, had Andrew Luck, jumped to the Niners, had about 1 or 2 bad years before building that team into the perennial, like, yeah, he didn't win a Super Bowl, but he went to a Super Bowl. They were an NFC championship contender until basically the GM, I should say, front office in the Niners got too hard-headed with them and got in a big dick contest. And they said, fuck it, I'm going to Michigan, where he kind of is right now.
Young guy, and he has done wonders for them. So that's I'm not saying it was a bad thing.
No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, Harbaugh still would have had success with that team, but he was one of the most recent college coaches that made a jump and had an impact. And, like, I think Dabo would have an impact. It's just, would he want to make that jump?
Arizona, you got to look at what's going on down there right now.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a coach that
Kingsbury.
came from college.
Kingsbury's only had 1 year. We'll see how this year goes.
I mean, he's got his guy, even though he didn't, coach him directly in college, but it was one of those. If I had a guy to pick, we got that quote for about a billion times.
He recruited him to Texas Tech.
One of those. But I think that Dabo could succeed at the NFL level. I think the Jaguars would be dumb if they do get the number 1 overall pick to not take Trevor Lawrence and try to attach his coach to him. Yeah. Because that just makes the most sense. But I mean, it's incredibly clear what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's a surprise to no one. Mm-hmm. Really, the only thing will be is what's the culture going to be like? Because if guys are jumping ship and taking $6 million pay cuts to get the fuck out of town, that sends a message. Mm-hmm. I mean, truly, that is a scary thought. When it's like the guys who are left on that team, I mean, look, fucking love Gardner Minshew. That man had swagger for days. He's super smart. He had a good season last year, and I think he's one of those guys who he might win them some games they don't want to win. Mm-hmm. That's my fear now.
But he's not going to win the Super Bowl with them.
Oh, probably not. Probably not. Not with this roster, but could he win a Super Bowl someday? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. He is the caliber of quarterback who could grit out some wins. I have no doubt in my mind.
Is he a B+ player?
Dude looks sharp at times. I would not put anything past him yet. He is so talented, so young still. Yeah. Not capping that boy off. I'm just saying that if they win 4 games and they should only won 3 and somebody else snipes that number 1 pick, they are going to be pissed at him.
And here's the thing because the number 1 pick is what it all comes down to, because I think the Jaguars with this trade are in a great situation. They're in a great situation if they get number 1, but even if they don't get number 1, they're still in a good situation to get Trevor Lawrence. And the reason why I say that is I am just going to read off the top 10 teams for Tankathon.
Sure.
And they all have something in common. At number 10, the Chargers. They just drafted Herbert. Herbert may not get the start this year. And if he doesn't, then next year he would be getting that start. They wouldn't be drafting a quarterback.
Unless they do the Josh Rosen route.
But
why would you pass on a generational quarterback for somebody who's pretty good in college?
Here's the thing, though. I think, I agree with you. Trevor Lawrence might be better than Justin Herbert when we're looking, years down the line. But yet again, if you think you have your guy, Herbert is better than what Josh Rosen was coming out.
I don't agree with that, but okay. That's okay. We can keep going.
The Raiders would be the Raiders. All comes down to what would they do with Derek Carr.
Yeah,
if they're going to move Derek Carr, then if it's that case, then if I'm the Jaguars, fuck it, I'll give you my pick and some of these picks to get Derek Carr, because that means you're adding a veteran. But at the same time, would that fit a timeline?
I think if they move on from Derek Carr, they would still look at the other 2 quarterbacks at the top of that board. I don't think they're locked in the same way that the Jags are to Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, Yeah, they could maybe take a Fields over Lawrence, is what you're saying.
Or a certain North Dakota State prospect who has been nothing but perfection.
Trey Lance, right? Lance?
Trey
Yeah,
Lance,
Trey Lance. It's a fucking baller name, by the way. Trey Lance.
Absolutely. That's right up there. It's not quite Colt, but it's just below.
But like the other ones are more run through. Jets have Darnold. Lions have Stafford. The Dolphins.
Stafford's questionable because of his injury history now. That back is scary as shit.
Dolphins have Tua. Giants just drafted Daniel Jones, who they're in love with. Teddy Bridgewater has still, 3 years?
He's got plenty of time.
2 potential out, but 3 years on that contract. And then you have the Bengals, who just took Joe Burrows, and Washington, who, yes, they took Dwayne Haskins, but
they would take a heartbeat.
They would take Lawrence in a heartbeat?
They would take either one of them in a heartbeat. I have no faith in Dwayne.
I guess.
Being a quarterback.
Who knows? Maybe Alex Smith comes back this year and shocks people.
Saying that is why they would take a quarterback. Because if your hopes are on the guy who couldn't walk and nearly died from his leg being exploded on the football field in front of millions of people.
Good point.
Then maybe you don't got the guy.
Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville, though, they have a shit ton of picks. Like you said, 6.
I'm sorry, but that was
good point. It is what it is. That's like he almost died. But yet again, like Washington, that's the thing that I love about the draft is we always say like, oh, this is what we think about this guy. And then a team goes against it. Like NBA style, Dave, you have kind of proven that when it comes to scouting, like not to blow your own horn here, but you're good at it. Not to shine it up a little bit. You're really good at it.
I'm openly looking for a job in the NBA front office to be a scout. Like that would be my dream.
Like, I mean, and that's the thing where we might say, hey, Dwayne Haskins ain't the guy, but they may say, nuh-uh, Dwayne Haskins is the guy. We're going to look somewhere else. So, I mean, the Jaguars, the best way, get number 1. And if they get number 1, they have ammo to get other guys, like even the running back, like the 2 positions they could use. Running back, like if they even got ETN, or if they went with like a Najee Harris in the 3rd round.
Does ETN have that whole legal thing going on, or
does it?
Accusations?
I mean,
accusations.
By the draft, like we don't know. We got to wait to see how they play out. I mean, there's been players with legal situations and stories about them.
Yeah, I know he's a good running back, but there's also that kid who we might talk about later who's not playing college.
You're talking about Chuba Hubbard? Because I think Chuba Hubbard was the one from Oklahoma State that I don't know if he said he's coming back, but he's
thinking of shit. Kid from Memphis, running back from Memphis.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, he's not playing. Kenneth Gainwell. It's like he was like a top 10 in Heisman last year, and he was
the top 4 that they have is ETN, Hubbard, Harris, and then Gainwell from Memphis. But like even they're in a prime position to get one of the top wide receivers, whether it's Rondale Moore, who we've talked about, Bateman, who we've talked about, Jamar Chase, who we're going to talk about today, who's right now the number 1 receiver in the class. I think that the Jaguars, if they have a plan in place, that's the thing. Do they have a good plan in place in order to kind of use these draft picks? Because you could have numerous draft picks and miss on all of them. So it puts them in a good situation. Are you owing? Was that an O out of you?
I agree with you because it's the multiple draft picks, and you look back at who they've taken in the past couple years, like, outside of Justin Blackmon, who literally murdered his own career because he doesn't care about football.
I was so high on Blackmon.
So many picks.
I was so high on Blackmon.
Same here. I mean, work ethic. That's one of those things. Like passion for the game. It's one of those things. It's hard to test on the field, but it's very easy to find out in those conversations the front offices are having, those interviews. And I think that's one of the things, like, that's why you fell. Like, but at the same time, you look at the Jags do have a good track record with drafting. They just don't keep a team together because the entire environment down there is so cancerous. I think they led the league in like player reporting, like player complaints. to the NFLPA. So it's not shocking that, this team is not in a great place, but like they have the ammo. You're absolutely right. This team is like a Madden, like build a franchise, like wet dream prospect here. Like, hey, we got, like I said, 6 picks in the top 100. They can do even more damage. They've got a ton more picks after that. Like, they absolutely can reload this roster, but then you got a bunch of young guys out there. You're still not going to win a ton of games, but you'll look promising at least doing it. It just comes into who's that head coach, who's that GM who's going to guide them towards the future. And that's the question. Because, like, I think Leonard Fournette's still a great football player. He came off his best year last year, and, like,
I mean,
he go somewhere. And
in the Discord, there were people saying, like, oh, where could he go? Where could he
I still think Rams. I really do.
Yeah.
That's my, for funsies, I think the Rams. I mean, we'll just move on from this former great with horrible knees and take, a giant stud running back who's the size of a boulder. Well, why not? Why not?
The one thing, go ahead, because I'm trying to look for something from from 8 years ago that I can't find.
What did you look for me?
Because 8 years ago on our first website, I did profiles for like Blackman, Tannehill, and that. And I was going to bring up like how high I was on Blackman. And the only thing I could find is, this is from 8 years ago at thevikingage.com. This is when I wrote for the fan-sided site for the Vikings. And even when the Vikings were at number 3, I put down the next 3 options for the Vikings all involve who they should draft. Should they draft? And the first name I listed, Justin Blackman. Like, I was super high on him at the even number 3 pick, to where it's like, I thought he could be the like number 1 option to a team. So like, you bring up Blackman and I'm just like, he's one of the,
it's a shame.
I almost want to say biggest busts out of like guys that I've liked in a draft, because what has he done?
Nothing for nobody.
The next thing, though, Dave, we'll move on, is Alvin Kamara. So this might be a situation of big deal, medium deal, no deal kind of a thing, where Saints running back Alvin Kamara has been absent from camp, and it is contract related. This is from Mike Triplett at ESPN. Alvin Kamara appears to be making a late push for a contract extension. The New Orleans Saints running back has been in unexcused absence from training camp since Friday, and the absence is believed to be contract related, according to Adam Schefter. Saints coach Sean Payton has declined to specify the reason for any player absence in recent days, as teams are not required to release injury reports during camp. Kamara is scheduled to make $2.1 million in his final year of his rookie contract. He reported for the start of training camp and participated in the first several weeks, insisting at that time that he was not focused on his contract. Dave, big deal, medium deal, no deal. What are you getting from this?
I'm going to say medium deal. I think this is a situation where it's purely contract based. I'm not really worried about like feelings hurt, because this is definitely not one of those cases. There's no concern that like this is taken personally or anything. This is purely just a matter of, hey, I need to make sure I'm getting paid, because next year everybody in the NFL at the running back position is looking for a payday. You have Leonard Fournette, we just talked about, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Philip Lindsay, Marlon Mack, Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley, all available for a new contract. All free agents, potentially. So I think he's just trying to get ahead of the curve. He's trying to secure himself, and I think that's the thing. Like, I'm sorry. Also, I think you have Connor, Hunt, Carson, and Breida in this article as mentioned. So yeah, no, with that many players at that position plus rookies, like if you don't get your money secured now, you're going to be making nothing. Like that's the problem. They're going to just pin them against each other, and teams go, well, if you don't like the contract, you don't got to take it. We'll give you, like $12 million. Like where these guys should be commanding like 16 to 20 range.
Yeah.
Because their prime is so short, teams are going to lowball the shit out of them, because there's just such a wide variety of talents available they're all starting caliber running backs. Like for your number one running back on your team, any one of these guys, like 1/3 of the starting court, it's just insane. It's an insane amount of competition at that position. So he's doing it for money. He's hoping to get a deal signed. I totally have no problem with this. It's just a matter of like, will it get done, or is this just, gonna mean that you're probably not going to be back there next year?
I'm going to say big deal. And the only reason I'm saying big deal is it's not something like, oh, he's going to hold out if it goes past the extension deadline. No, it's a big deal because of who Alvin Kamara is and his history. Because the Saints are a team that, like, you're right, he wants to get paid. Yeah. But the Saints are also like, we don't want to pay you that much money. Right. If you're just going to be hurt. Yeah, he's got an injury history of, so the last 2 years, so the second year he missed 1 game, didn't start 3 games. Last year he didn't play in 2 games, only started in 9 games. Like, this is a team that they have Latavius Murray behind him. Latavius Murray has proven with his time with the Raiders and his time with the Vikings that, hey, I can be a serviceable starting running back if given the touches. Hell, he even did that last year with the Saints, where he was a little bit behind Kamara. Like, of course, Kamara had 100 more yards, almost 200 more yards than him, but he still had 637 yards.
It's the hands.
Yeah, it's the hands, but like,
that's what makes Kamara separate. Like,
but will he be healthy enough to be able to use them consistently? That's what the Saints are going to be worried about.
Your best running backs in the NFL are Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley as your 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
I don't care what order you put them in. Those are the best 2 running backs because they can do it with their hands. They can do it on the legs. They're quick. They're smart. They're incredibly well built, and they're agile. They've got that breakaway speed. Alvin Kamara is a less durable version of that. He's still a dynamic playmaker, and he can line up anywhere across that field for your offense. So, like, I think he's, top. I would put him in that, like, 4 to 8 range as far as running back value in the NFL. It's just a matter of, like, is he going to get paid like it? Probably not. And that's the problem. He realizes now, he's like, oh, I got fucked. Yeah. I am being fucked right now because he's on that last year of his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't cash in now, he's not going to be making, ridiculous money next year. He'll be making adequate, but not worth, necessarily the ridiculous contract of someone like Derrick Henry who just got paid.
And that's why the only reason I say big deal is if I'm the Saints, of course I want to be in the situation of, hey, let's see how this year plays out. If you're healthy this year and everything goes fine this year, I have no problem giving you everything that you deserve. The only problem is by doing that, he hits the open market potentially. And then it's like, oh, because by that time you still have that re-signing period. But like when we get to after the season, let's say Kamara has like a MVP type of season.
If he goes back and turns back the clock a little.
Who's to say he doesn't go, you know what? I want to listen to offers. Like, and
by the way, I totally misspoke when I was talking numbers earlier. I did not realize how far off I was.
For which
like
one?
McCaffrey's deal, he's going to be earning 8, 8, 11, 11, 11, or 8, 8, 11, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And like Derrick Henry, I think is earning just below that. He goes 10, 12, 12. So like,
because McCaffrey got one of the most expensive for a running back.
Yeah, he got a longer term deal. And I think the deal is like, if these two guys are looking at those numbers, then I'm going to guess that someone like Kamara is asking for
the McCaffrey type numbers.
Obviously that, 10 to 12 mil range, and he might have to settle for that 7 to 9 mil range.
Yeah, and it just comes down to, it's a tricky game because and I'm thinking this from the Saints, is do you go through the year, possibility of him leaving because of what happens, or do you give him the money that he deserves because he's a great talent at the running back position, but you're basically, with his history and his injuries, are you basically saying, hey, we're just going to take the gamble and throw you the money because when you are healthy, you're one of the best. You're probably top 5 running back.
Their timeline is so weird because it's, how long is Drew Brees going to continue to be Drew Brees? So can you afford not to pay him and think this offense is still as good? Last year, the show shifted to Michael Thomas show. Michael Thomas was a very good receiver, like a top 5 receiver 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And then he's just continued to add on to that, and they've depended on him more and more. And, Alvin Kamara's breakout year 2 years ago, and then last year, obviously, we saw the dip in production. I just wonder, are they already aiming away from it, or is it the thing of, can they afford not to pay him and still be a top offense in the NFL? Because you've only got maybe 2 years of Drew Brees at top form. I mean, I'm assuming the guy's got to get worse at some point. I'm not Max Kellerman over here saying there's a cliff coming, but I think he's got a couple good years left. Absolutely. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt, first shot. But how much money can you invest in a skill position like that? Or do you think you can pluck somebody on the cheap, either in the draft or in free agency next year?
Yeah. And I mean, kind of looking forward into the future a little bit is some of the big quarterback contracts that are going to be up. I'm just going to do the next 3 free agent cycles. So next year's free agent cycle, the main contract that we're going to be looking at is Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
If he does, and that's another thing that plays into this is the Drew Brees question of how many years is he going to continue playing. And with this team, the Saints could be someone that grabs a veteran, plugs them in, boom, we don't stop. It's just, we're going. It's not yes, we're winning a Super Bowl, but
plug and play and replace an all-time legend.
I would say this.
I think Dak Prescott would shit the bed in that offense.
Okay, how about let's say
I'll go on record.
We'll go this then. Let's say Drew Brees plays this year and next year, and then calls it quits.
Sure.
Big Ben. Do you think Big Ben could step in and basically pick up where Drew Brees left off?
Big Ben has the talent too, but I don't know if Big Ben will want to play football in 2 years.
Good point.
For the last 3 years, we've had Big Ben retirement conversations.
He'd be 40. Good point. He'd be 40.
The man takes a beating already, and not counting the whole off the field shit.
Yeah.
But
you just walked right into that one, Dave. You're gonna have to walk yourself out of this.
I said the word, and I was like, "Whoa, what's
You're gonna have to walk your way out of this one."
I think that he's a guy who likely will retire at the same time as Drew Brees would, if not within a year of. So I would not spend big money on him at the end of his career.
And 2023, this could be the one, Dave, that you were saying. Let's say Drew Brees plays 3 more years, this and 2 more.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins is up. Kirk Cousins will be 35.
Sure.
Jimmy Garoppolo is up. He'll be 31. Matthew Stafford will be up. He will be 36.
Hopefully not in a wheelchair.
And then Derek Carr will also be up. He will be 32. Obviously,
Derek Carr will likely be cut before then.
Carr and Jimmy G will probably be the 2 at the top of that list. Cousins and Stafford at the bottom of those 4. But
I'm gonna guess Jimmy
4.
G gets an extension.
Probably
his dumb contract already.
Mm-hmm.
Carr, I'm gonna guess, is either traded or cut.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to draft somebody. I really do. I think that they're going to draft a quarterback in the next 2 years.
Trade up for Trey Lance. They get Trey Lance, Dave.
Honestly, that might be Sean Payton's style.
Maybe.
He likes Taysom Hill. And Taysom's a kid who clearly is talented at doing a lot of things. He's just an all-around athlete. Mm-hmm. But you didn't mention their backup quarterback today, Ricky. Where's the faith in famous Jameis?
I
thought 30 for 30.
I thought you were talking about Taysom Hill.
No, the 30 for 30, baby.
Like you said on Friday, the 30 for 30 that we're eventually going to make a 30 for 30 about.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Going to get that to happen. I think he's someone people are overlooking right now. Mm-hmm. If you have the talent to throw for nearly 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, no. You're an above average quarterback in the NFL. I don't care how many fucking mistakes you make. Mm-hmm. Mistakes can be toned down.
Yeah.
Arm talent cannot. That is That's one of those things where
like in
you just got to work
basketball.
with the head on the shoulder.
It's like in basketball, like ball. Can't teach height.
You can't.
Can't teach height.
You can't. But man, he's going to be good.
All right, let's move on into some basketball. And before we do, Dave, let's take a break and let's do a segment we love to do here on MVP Sports Live. This is a daily segment that we love to do. We love to give the kind of honors and nods to players who popped off the weekend before or the day before. These are our dampest of dudes, our soggiest of shooters, our moistest of men, and sometimes our mistiest of misses, Dave. These are our wet boys. Like I said, these are like our players of the game from the day before, players of the day, I should say. And how we do it is Dave give one, I give one, and then our patrons at patreon.com/MVPvid, silver tier and above, they also vote for their wet boys each and every day. So Dave, without hesitation, who is your wet boy? The last wet boy for August 2020. Who is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, he did everything we wanted him to do. There was no Lacoste. It was just LeBron James being the best player in basketball yet again. Who's currently playing? MJ here, LBJ here. He's still number 2. But active player. He's the best active player in basketball. I don't care. All the Giannis lovers out there can go suck it. But he went out there, dropped the triple-double, I'm pretty sure, and just carried his team. Anthony Davis gets a lot of credit, and rightfully so, because LeBron James would not be here without Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis, without LeBron James, watched the playoffs happen from his fucking couch at home for the last couple years. So let's be honest, who needs who more?
You know who didn't have a wet boy performance, though? LeBron's hairline. LeBron's bald spot did not have a wet boy.
that clip right here, what happened to LeBron James was a crime. The goldfish up top of balding, He's got the whoop. That's rough.
And you know what? I made the joke to Soapy
There's
that...
just nothing going on here. Nothing like that.
I made the joke to Soapy. I'm like, yeah, he should call Restore, but after what happened with Brian Urlacher, I don't know if many people want to be using Restore these days.
Yeah, true. That is very true. I do. Man. I just shave it. Just shave it. He got the beard, shave the head. He'll look fine.
I love how both of us at the same time. Just shave it. Just shave it. For my wet boy, I'm going to go outside. It's going to be the only non-NBA wet boy for today. And this one, I'm going to say, this is one where I'll admit maybe a weaker game, but there's a greater reason why I'm picking this wet boy, and that is Yu Darvish of the Chicago Cubs. So he pitched a game on Saturday, I believe. He got the quality start. He got 6 innings. Yeah, he gave up 7 hits, struck out only 8, didn't strike out double digits, but didn't give up a run. And the reason why I wanted to give him, this is his second wet boy since we've come back to MVP Live, since we made it all sports, is right now, Dave, in many lists, Yu Darvish leads the list for Cy Young in the NL.
Really?
Yes, he leads the league in strikeouts too at 52 or 53 strikeouts. So that's why right now I'm he had a good game. I'm going to give him a wet boy because I am throwing shade, Dave, at Brandon Swanson, because I love that Yu Darvish is doing this good, because when he was signed, all I heard that entire year after, terrible contract, you overpaid him, he's going to be the biggest paperweight. Brandon saying he loved the Yu Darvish struggles because the contract was stupid. And hey, guess what? Who's laughing now? Yu Darvish kind of turning back the clock, being the pitcher that we saw. I'm going to even say it, the pitcher that we saw with Texas, even before he was with the Dodgers, which was really kind of the downfall of his yips. But Dave, I'm going to let you speak to this wet boy. I'll announce it. I'll let you speak to it. Because this was one that you messaged me and you said, I want this guy unless the patrons take him. Then I'll go with my second one. And the patrons go NBA. They go Jamal Murray, 50 points yet again. Had a very emotional interview after the win over the Jazz on Sunday. Just happened last night. And I'm going to let you speak to it because this was somebody that you were even going to pick yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about the challenges that the Nuggets were trying to dig themselves out of in this series. And one of the key things, obviously, was Jamal Murray's offense. The man had to rise to meet the occasion of Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell sent a message early on in this series that he was not going to take shit from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He was going at the hoop aggressive. He was killing from the outside. It looked like he had the complete game. And then Jamal Murray started to fight back. We watched that dueling 50-point-plus game from them both. And now Jamal Murray comes out on top and just flamethrower. He's a fucking flamethrower out there this series. Like, I don't really have any expectations for him to keep this up because he's shooting an incredible clip. And there's no way that that's a reasonable expectation for him to continue to do so. But man, this Nuggets team needs him to perform like this in the playoffs. They need that true number 2. Yeah. Michael Porter Jr., as great as he was for like all 8 minutes of the bubble games that he played, and he looks great in regular season games, he is not someone to be counted on during playoff time. It's a bonus when he does deliver. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to be great going forward. But you need Jamal Murray to continue to stroke it from the outside. That Jokic-Murray 2-man game has got to work for you if you hope to make it out of the first round.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at this guy, he also, this was when you were talking about LeBron. I just saw it because I had to switch back over.
Sure.
He wanted to ask me, so how about those Blazers in 5? Never said 5. I said 7.
After game 1, we might have said 5 now.
I mean, after game 1, I was throwing out hella jokes.
4? Look, we doing sweep jokes? We talking Chuck?
Yeah. I mean, if Dame doesn't get injured, series is different, but kudos to the Lakers. They got it done. They won it. They went on.
Game 1 was the kick in the ass they needed.
Yeah.
That was the wake-up call, and I'm glad they all woke up and got the message. I do have an honorable shout-out for
Go ahead. Honorable mentions are nice. This guy throws out the Padres organization for getting Clevenger from the Indians today.
It only works if he pitches well. I know he's a good pitcher, but it only pays off if he's going to pitch well.
Wasn't he the one that the whole team was mad at for the whole, like, going out and breaking COVID rules?
COVID rules.
Wasn't he the one that was doing that?
Might have been him.
Twitch chat kind of fact check me on that one, but who's your honorable mention, Dave?
Bjergsen, TSM, League of Legends, LCS over the weekend. Saturday,
Dave's like, I could do this now.
They knocked the poop out of Cloud9. It was a great series, 4-game set. I watched about 40 hours of League of Legends this weekend. I love it. I love playoff weekends. But like Bjergsen just hard carries his team. Like I feel bad because TSM, historic franchise in the US for the LCS. And he is like the guy on the team. And it's like everybody else is here and he's somewhere in this range. Like he was playing at that level and he bust out his trusted Zillion pick for game 4 to lock that shit up. And I mean, like, it's embarrassing. Like, it's like a niche pick. It's like, it's so far off the standard meta trends that you're like, oh, he picked Zillion. It's fucking over. Like, teams don't worry about it normally because, like, oh, we're playing meta, all this normalcy. And he's like, nope, calling him in. Just calling him in. It's disgusting what he does. So he put on a hell of a carry job. And TSM going to Worlds. Cloud9 not. Nice. Great fucking game. Great series.
But Dave, let's move on. NBA. I wish esports was something I wish I was more into, but it's just I just don't. It's
so
not
cool.
An interest for. It's a watching thing. Like Overwatch was the last one that I like. That's the thing too. Since I don't play League or I don't play Counter-Strike, like
I haven't played a game of League.
But you used to.
Years.
Is what I'm saying. Like
Yes.
I'm like I don't play Overwatch like I used to, but I'll still watch Overwatch League when it's on because like I at least understand the game and what's going on and shit.
Yeah. Maybe I can get you invested during Worlds for League of Legends. I'll see if I can.
Maybe I haven't watched the WoW arenas either. Like
WoW arenas suck to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's like 15 minutes of watching them try to see which guy blows his cooldown wrong for the first time, and then they try to capitalize on it. And that's all it is. It's like all this setup for 4 seconds of burst, and it's the dumbest shit in the world to me. I don't even love WoW Arena.
Dave's like, I don't love it. But let's move into the NBA. I don't expect these to be long conversations, but hey, games happened this weekend. We got to talk about some of the stuff that popped off. The first one, so the Celtics beat the Raptors this weekend. And the kind of question that I was asking myself is, I think I know our answer for this because both you and I realistically, have the Celtics coming out of the
realistically.
East. Well, I say realistically because I did go edgelord and I picked the Miami Heat to come out of the East, but that's just me being an edgelord. I love Miami this year.
Who knows?
Could be a chance. They're really good. But did the Celtics prove in their game one over the Raptors that they are the team to beat in the East, or will this be a situation where it was like we kind of overreacted to game one Blazers-Lakers, where this was just one game, they played really good, and doesn't mean anything for the entire playoffs? Like, that doesn't mean like they're going to steamroll to the finals.
No, I don't think it means they're going to steamroll to the finals, but I do think it was a very much assert your dominance kind of a game.
Nice.
What had happened was the Raptors forgot how to shoot the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I want to give the Celtics credit for playing good defense. They did. But many of those looks were not influenced by defense. Mm-hmm. They were just poor shooting. And it'll happen from time to teams where they're not able to knock down shots. So I did feel bad for the Raptors, but I feel like it's one of those situations where the Celtics have the best player in the series and Jason Tatum, and then potentially the second best player, and I know I'm going to get criticized for this, and Kemba Walker.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say Jaylen Brown.
I love Jaylen Brown, and I want to say Jaylen Brown, but Kemba Walker played well.
Hey, Dave.
And I hate Kemba Walker for his flops in round one and in his play against Joel Embiid. Like, I strip despise that style of play.
I was going to say, be careful for saying you love Jaylen Brown, because Boston fans will be in the comment section saying, didn't you guys hate on Jaylen Brown coming out of the draft? I know I did.
I said a lot of things I don't regret about him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more impressed by his work ethic and his ability to develop a shot. And I think I think his development happened better than anyone could have expected. I don't even think Danny Ainge was like, this kid's going to shoot 40% from three on multiple attempts a game in 2 years. Like, yep, that's who he's going to be. I can see it now. 26% in college, 40% 3-point shooter in the NBA.
Maybe he's just the genius, Dave.
Like, Isaac Okoro is praying that he will have a Jaylen Brown-esque career. That's what he's trying to sell every NBA team on right now.
I can be Jaylen Brown.
He did that. I can do that if he can do that. Like, they have scary similar stats. They're not the same person.
No, they're not.
No, the wing depth and talent on Boston is so good, and the ability to switch every which way on that team, you can't get the better match on them except for the center position. And even then, the Time Lord played some clutch minutes for him and it looked pretty good.
He had a windmill. I saw you had a windmill.
I meme on this man a lot, but like, he looked pretty good out there. It's just the Raptors feel like they felt like the deepest team. But they don't have a star now. Yeah. They're a by committee scoring. Fred VanVleet 1 game, Lowry 1 game. They might get it out of Serge Ibaka. They might get out of Norm Powell. They might get OG Anunoby seems like a perfect complementary piece, but he's not necessarily a star scorer for you. He's a more of a lockdown defender, 3-and-D god. Pascal Siakam, they were hoping would take that step. So far, the playoffs, he's had one really good game, and then everything else has been kind of just okay. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're very much a team by committee. So if you need that moment where somebody takes over a quarter or a run, I don't know if you've got them. Fred VanVleet can only go dad mode so much. Like that's a limited superpower I'm believing. So I like the Celtics. I think they have just incredible defense, incredible switching, great scoring, multiple options. I got 4 guys starting that offense who all can score 20 at any given time. So,
and that's why I feel like Siakam. To me, it's less. It's Siakam and Fred VanVleet are the 2 focuses for me. Of like one of them needs to step up, and I don't say step up like, hey, you're garbage. Step up.
I mean, Fred VanVleet after the first round probably earned himself a $20 million contract from the Knicks.
But like the series against the Nets was not going to be the series where we go, hey, what's this team like without Kawhi?
Yeah, no, they played the G League.
This is the series where it's like, this was the one where when we were talking before the playoffs where I said that Kyle Lowry had the quote of like, they asked him like Siakam, what if he's not ready to step up? And Lowry basically said, well, we're going to make him. We're going to make him step up. We're going to make sure he's ready to step up because he ain't got no choice. They need Siakam or they need Fred VanVleet, but like you said, the Celtic defense is going to I don't want to say hinder, but I will say influence the Raptors this series. The other NBA thing I wanted to mention were the Lakers, where they proved me wrong. They went ahead and beat the Blazers, but like I will say till the day I die, Damian Lillard did get injured. So that influenced, like, hey, it was playing out exactly like I said, Dave. They went up 3-1.
Congratulations, Dame. I think he's expecting a child, right? That was news I'd seen today.
I think so, maybe. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But, like, it played out almost like I thought, Dave. If Dame didn't get hurt, my prediction would have been spot on. Down 3-1, come back, win in 7. But, yeah, the Lakers move on. However, Dave, there are some out there that still question the Lakers. I will be on that same side because, to me, even if they play the Rockets, who I know play tonight, if they
best
win,
team
they
in the
move
NBA
on.
right now.
Do you think the Lakers are like, whoo, okay, if we play exactly like that, we'll be good? Or, hey, no, you're still going to have challenges against the Rockets and potentially the Clippers if they make it that far. They got to win their series as well.
Clippers, notorious scumbag organization.
Could the Lakers organization and kind of team, should they still be a little worried going forward and not completely like, okay, everything's fine?
Absolutely worried. If you're going to face the Rockets, that is a completely different challenge than what the Blazers afforded to you. The Rockets are a team makeup that is nothing like any other team you face this year. That's why they are unique. They play small ball at the highest possible level. They will abuse you for having either of your big men on the court. If you think that JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard is going to be a help for you, get fucked. Like that's what's going to happen to you. Somehow PJ Tucker and Robert Covington covering centers out there is just going to work wonders. Rocco hit his stride over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that, but he had one of his I think it was his best playoff performance yet. Absolutely fantastic all-around game. Defensively, offensively, he was everywhere they needed him to be. Like, the Rockets are the scariest team in the NBA right now. That's what you should think. And that's why the Lakers should be concerned going to that route. They need to figure out how to get shut down defense, double up on Harden, force Russ into situations where he feels comfortable shooting mid-range. Don't let him get under the rim, but make him take those stop pull-ups. I know he's comfortable with them, but he doesn't necessarily hit a high percentage of them right now, coming off of his injury. So try to lean into that and force him to make mistakes. But he just came off a game where he didn't have a turnover for the first time in like fucking years. Yeah. Like, he played a whole game without having a turnover. So I don't know. Like, I feel like the Rockets are just clicking. And obviously, having to guard LeBron James and Anthony Davis will be a massive task for this Rockets team. But they've got to find other guys to help them win, because right now that two-man team, as good as they are, and they're very good, I don't know if they can carry over the random three-point shooting gods on the Rockets any given night.
For me with the Lakers, and this is what they got to figure out, maybe this is more of a Clipper obstacle than a Rocket obstacle, but they need to find a way to have it to where LeBron's not the only one showing up each night, because and this is like a LeBron curse, I should say, with some teams, except for like the Heatles, where it's basically teams know how to play LeBron's Lakers just like it was LeBron's Cavs, of like, okay, we just got to shut down AD. If we shut down AD and fucking like shut down everyone else, like let LeBron get his points. Or it could be the other way around, of like, hey, let's go all in on LeBron. Let's force AD to beat us. Let's force Danny Green to beat us, because
I mean, that's how you win, is you force the other guys to beat you, because LeBron James will get his one way there. He and James Harden have that similar quality in them, where regardless of how bad they're playing, how much you're trying to stop them, they'll get theirs. It might not be pretty, but they will get theirs.
And that's the thing with like the Clippers, where you say scummiest organization, where
they're a scumbag. Like Brooks Morris is the biggest scumbag
but
after his comments.
I look at it and I go, after his comments, but with the play out there, I kind of look at it the same way as Colin Cowherd said, because he made a good point about it, where the way Marooks was going after Luka is basically the same way the bad boy Pistons went after Jordan. And it's like, Do we hate the bad boy Pistons for it? Yeah, they're assholes. But that was their whole thing of like, we're the bad boys and we don't give a shit. And that's kind of like what
30 years, and that type of basketball is not allowed.
I know, but like to me, that's why I look at it and I go, I don't really like, unless you're really out there, like, it's the fine line of like, you don't want to hurt someone, but like at the same time,
it's almost like someone, it's in an organization is tried to intentionally hurt a player before. And, Kawhi Leonard lost, a year of his career and then irreparable damage going down the road.
Kawhi Leonard, like Zaza didn't mean to do it.
I'm pretty sure Zaza's a scumbag and that wasn't the only play. No, really. Look it up. Zaza Pachulia's a dirty player.
Okay. Watching that one, I didn't think he did it on purpose, but that's a conversation that's completely off.
Plays like that. And
I just look at it though with the Clippers to the Lakers though, is Kawhi's going to be on LeBron. You're going to have Marcus Morris go after AD.
I don't think they make it past this round. So I don't think it matters.
You don't think the Clippers make it past this round?
No, I don't think the Lakers make it past this round.
Okay.
My money is still on the Rockets making out because I think they're the better team.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. Like the Rockets are really like the thing to me is that backcourt is really what drives this team. And when Harden and Westbrook are clicking, like they just need some of the other pieces offensively, but mostly defensively and stuff. Like if that team can just help out their offense, they are the true dark horse in the West.
They're the team. I'm telling you, they are the team.
Dave calling it now. Lakers going to get bounced.
I call my predictions.
Soapy also agrees with you. He says that's 100% meant to do it.
You.
Maybe my Warriors biased.
Marcus Morris was like the second best player throughout the whole series against the Mavs, but I almost feel like he doesn't deserve any credit now because he's just a scumbag.
Yeah.
Like, and you say, well, Bad Boys Pistons did it, and I'm like, they did. But again, that was in 1989, 1990. Like, that shit doesn't fly anymore, and that's why I'm like, somebody's going to take him out, and it's not going to be pretty. And I can't wait for when that happens. But I hate to be that guy who watches injuries. And
that's how it is, though. Like, that's how it even was back then. All right, you're going to come after my guy. We're going to come after you.
That's NHL shit. That's a minor league shit where you're Bush League. That's Bush League. That's not what we're expecting for in the NBA playoffs. I want to watch the best people play basketball. Play basketball. I don't want to watch people get chippy because there's an asshole on the court who's going out of his way to injure other players. Like, that we literally banned someone from our Discord for making comments about I hope he gets injured.
Well, yeah.
Like, shit like that. And this guy's going out of his way to intentionally try to hurt someone. And you're like, nah, he's a lovable, hateable guy.
No, I didn't say lovable. I never said lovable.
But like,
I said the bad boy Pistons are. Yeah, it's with them. It was a lovable thing of like if you were from Detroit, you loved them. If you were not from Detroit, you hated them, and that's how it is here. Where it's, am I saying what he's doing is right?
It's the same level of hate I have for Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I will never give Draymond Green equal respect for his contributions on the court because he's a dirty player.
But
because he actively tried to injure other players for multiple years.
But I'm on the side of like, I'm just saying I agree with Cowherd of like when you're a talent that is as good as Luka, LeBron, MJ, like you're that unstoppable, you're going to expect this to be a recourse of action, whether it be right or wrong. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think you should have to expect that in 2020.
I think you will until
time. I think flagrant twos are something that aren't part of the game. That's why it's a flagrant two. That's why it's get your ass off the court.
Because teams are going to do whatever they need to stop somebody from winning. Where it was like Derrick Rose was even in that similar situation of, all right, if he drives to the rim, knock his ass down. Like,
I mean, he would find the floor.
Yeah, but it was like knock his ass down, make sure he doesn't get to the cup, go to the line. He didn't have
that many situations where he was getting brutalized and not getting calls. Like,
I mean,
he just couldn't land.
The 90s.
It was his own curse. He literally could not land.
But like
when he went up,
this is something that's gonna happen, and I don't necessarily know how you take it out of the game. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm like rooting for like Boban to like just clock him at this point, like. That would make me happy. That's the problem.
Like and that like that is it's on court justice is the only way.
That I'm cool locker room.
What?
I'm cool with like a Chris Paul going across
okay.
the other team's locker room and doing something about it kind of situation.
He knocks and goes, "You rang," and just punches him in the face. That's what you want?
Would be 100% okay with that. No fine.
Okay. Let's move on, though. Let's end the show with a little bit of college. And this article from Adam Rittenberg, Dave, made me raise an eyebrow. Like, this is interesting. Where he writes an article, NCAA seeks trademark on battle in the bubble. The NCAA has applied to trademark the phrase battle in the bubble, which could apply to tournaments and other future athletic events as a well-branded appeal. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office received the NCAA's application on Wednesday, which was filed by attorney Douglas Masters. In addition to clothing, items, and footwear, the trademarked phrase could apply to live athletic contests, games, tournaments, and exhibitions, and the NCAA's television, radio, and multimedia programs around the world around those events. The list of clothing of items in the NCAA's application include athletic uniforms. Dave, my question with this is does this mean the NCAA, especially for basketball, is looking into bubbles?
Absolutely. They absolutely are.
Looking into doing what the NBA's doing.
It's 100% the right move. We talked about this. We told them they should have done this from day one. Like, the Hawaii tournament is awesome every single year.
Yep.
Partially because they get to go to Hawaii. Like, let's be honest. But also, it's a tournament environment before the tournament. And that's all. We love tournaments. Yeah. What part of tournaments don't you tournament? And that's what it is. They need to jump on the train. So if the NBA tournament ends and they have not booked Disney for basketball going forward in if they got a couple months of leeway, the NCAA should give them a ring. Yeah. Or if there's another location where they feel there's enough gym to play out a tournament, I would be totally cool with the NCAA having a bubble tourney. The problem is do players have an incentive to play? Because we're going to be talking about this with football in a couple minutes, but if I'm a top 10 draft pick on next year's draft, I'm like, why the fuck would I play even?
Yeah, I mean, basketball's a little different only because
there's such an unknown. You're coming out of high school for a lot of these kids.
Yeah, you're coming out of high school. There's the international factor. For some of these guys, there's like the Ayo Dosunmu. Hey, let's be honest.
He's back to prove a point.
He says he's coming back to win a championship, which I believe there's a small part of him that does want to win one in Illinois. But there's also the side of, I was a first-round pick after my first year. I'm not going to be a second-round pick. So I think, although the Illinois fan in me want to believe, hey, he's back to win a championship, which I do think is there a little bit.
There was a chance at least that they could win a championship. I will give that validity.
Yes. And the thing that
would be the best Illinois team since that Illinois team.
Like, battle in the bubble to me would be, I'd love it. I'd eat it up. It's like March Madness to me. What
if it happened in Chicago?
What?
What if it happened in Chicago? We were one of the towns they had talked about for the backup bubble for the NBA.
Hey, the Big Ten.
Stadium.
Why wouldn't the Big Ten use the UC? They could. We've hosted the Big Ten tournament before. The Big Ten, it would be either between Indianapolis and us. Indianapolis and us would be the two choices for the Big Ten. But the one that fucking just is a complete clusterfuck is the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, because the Big 12, what, are you going to have it in Texas, which is a hot spot? What, are you going to have it in Florida if you're the ACC or the
Florida's
SEC?
Numbers literally can't get higher, I'm pretty sure. So at this point, they're trending downward.
But at the same time...
They're so bad, though.
But I say that at the same time, the NBA has done it perfectly while being in Florida. So, correct. I mean, I guess there's that. But at the same time, kids are different than adults, where the pros are, yes, we had one go to a strip club, but adults are kind of like, hey, let's not break the bubble.
We had a walk on the Seahawks, try to bring a girlfriend into a hotel, you know?
Yeah. When did Indiana come into existence? Fucking soapy.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just, I love this. It means we're looking towards a basketball season, and I want a college basketball season, obviously in a safe way, but I want a college basketball season.
What if we got a broken up March Madness and that was the whole season. Was just it's an expanded tournament. That's for March.
How I would do it if going off of this battle in the bubble,
2018, whatever it would be.
I wouldn't even do that. I would just say so. For the Power Fives, you would obviously need 5 cities for them. And then see, the problem is with college basketball, there's so many conferences that feed into your March Madness to where do you draw the line? I would be fine with, hey, the battle in the bubbles are basically going to be each conference kind of has their own little bubble. And obviously with the smaller conferences that have smaller teams, you don't have to necessarily do it in a big city. You can do it in a rural area where, hey, there might not be as many people around. So there might not be.
People shouldn't be going to these games anyway.
No. I'm saying in the in the town where it's hey, you're not gonna leave because there's nothing to fucking do here.
Oh yeah,
kind of a thing. Because there shouldn't be any fans in attendance. They should just do the virtual crowd like the NBA has done. Have your little battles in the bubbles, and it's just basically instead of a conference season, boom, you have your bubble, you have your tournament, and then that leads into a March Madness where it's the regional bubbles, the super regional bubbles, the Final Four bubble. Kind of a thing.
Basically seeding is just down to conference tourney play.
Yeah, I would do it the same way you would do it in the regular season. The 2 teams that make it depends on how, if you do a short,
more games than that.
Yeah, if you do a short little season, let's say they do, I'm going to use the NBA for example, an 8-game season, 10-game season. Basically, whoever wins the regular season games and gets the number 1 seed gets an auto bid. Whoever wins the tournament gets an auto bid, just like you would do. And then basically you pick at large from those. So you still get your 2 teams per conference. 2 teams per conference. Some conferences only 1 team per conference because some of the smaller ones it's just the tourney winners for their tourney that get in. You still get your auto bids, and then you can still pick between your at-large bids based on the play that you've seen. Is it perfect? No, but it could work.
I'm fine with it. If you played 1 game against every conference opponent, what's the biggest conference? Is it 12, 14?
14. Yeah, I would say the Big Ten has 14.
Yeah, happy to help Sophie. I think if they play every conference opponent once and then they start the tournament from there based on your record, I'm 100% go with that. Then you go conference play, conference tourney, straight into bubble. Not straight into because you have to quarantine again.
Yeah.
So this would take 2 months to do. No, it would take 2.5 months to do.
Yeah.
Because it would be a game every day, basically. No days off while you're in your first bubble. And then when you hit your the 64, the round of 64, then it's a new location probably.
Yeah.
And then it's
new
location. Can only happen twice. I think they have to realistically have 32 teams at each spot.
Yeah.
That's going to have to be the deal. I don't think they can afford to have the 2-week time wait and then move again every time.
And if you want to keep the March Madness thing, depending on how things go, February, your little break, March into April, just like it is usually, boom, there you go.
Yeah, March and April would both be tournaments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's doable. Now, do I think it should happen? Well, it doesn't fucking matter, apparently.
I mean, the NBA, the NBA and hockey,
has a secured environment.
Yeah,
hockey
that's what I'm saying.
Environment. That is not what's happening for college basketball. That's not what's happening for college football.
But I'm saying if they are going to put that in place with these bubbles, then I'm fine with it. What college football's doing, I don't agree with. And we got a couple little college football COVID updates, Dave. Yeah. Not going to be really long. The first one I alluded to earlier. So Jamar Chase, the number 1 wide receiver in this year's class right now, says he is opting out of the college football season. On his social media, he put a long thank you to the basically LSU faithful. He said, I'm going to read a snippet here. Personally, words cannot describe the great honor I have felt to wear LSU uniform and the number 7. I appreciate each and every one of my teammates for your hard work and pushing me to get better every day. There is nothing I want to do more than suit up in number 7 for the LSU Tigers. However, after careful consideration and many emotional conversations with my family, I have come to the difficult decision and will opt out for the 2020 year. This is just another one where it's like, good on for you for taking your health over football season where you're already the top talent. Why risk your health and go play? I know you love LSU. College is that thing where they have like a special bond, fans and players, because it's a kind of unrational kind of love. Irrational love.
I don't think it's rational at all. I mean, you have
what's the word I'm looking for?
A level of bond from living at that location. Mm-hmm. It's like a familial kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like
most cases, you went there, you are a part of it for like 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of people's lives at that point in their life. So I totally get it. Yeah. I absolutely get it. But at the same time, it's, why would I bother risking anything at this point? Like, I can not go to school and go train 100% for the combine and work on my own conditioning and route running and skill set, and go collect the UJS fucking paycheck.
And like, the big thing about this, Dave, don't mean to cut you off, is I believe this is the first SEC player from the top of the draft to say I'm opting out. We've talked about Big Ten. We've talked about ACC. This guy's a SEC one who is their season is playing. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, there you go. I mean, that's, again, I think people are joking around. Like, I had heard some comments about, like, 5 years ago, it was guys who back out of bowl game, they were looked down on. Yeah. It's like, they're just protecting their career. Like, there is no downside. Bosa didn't even bother going, he's like, done. Yeah. Fucking write it off. I'm done for
Christian McCaffrey didn't play his bowl game.
Yeah.
For Stanford.
I mean, that's the thing. You just, after watching Jalen Smith injury, ain't doing it.
Yeah.
As soon as my position in that draft would be locked up, I am done. I am shutting it down.
So, Dave, let's move on into some stupidity. You ready to do some stupidity? And absolutely. I say stupidity only because, like, I know, like, AEW has had this work, but yet again, I am on the no fan train for COVID. And from Adam Rittenberg of ESPN, Notre Dame football attendance this fall will be limited to 20% or less of stadium capacity, with priority going to students, the school announced Monday. Once student ticket demand is met, Notre Dame ND facility and staff will receive the remaining tickets. No fans from outside the university community will be allowed, with family members from both participating teams as the only exception. Capacity at the stadium is 80.7 thousand, so 20% is still 16.1 thousand people, Dave.
No.
Like, 20% sounds good until you say what number that is.
Let's put 16,000 people together and see if any of them are going to have COVID, and then if any of them are going to spread COVID.
I'm just going to throw this out there too. And this is not a perfect example because yet again, you don't know, like, people in groups, if they, like, AEW, the way they're doing it is we're going to have live fans, but they're social distance throughout the crowd, no more than 6 in a pocket, which it's like, for the amount of fans that they brought in with the last AEW one I watched, because I watched it because I wanted to see, it didn't seem bad. Now, does anyone get sick? We'll have to wait and see from that. But even if you divided that amount by 6, you want to know how many groups of 6 you would need around the stadium?
How many?
2,694 groups, Dave. And that was me rounding up. You would need over 2,000 groups of 6 if you were going to go ahead with this plan. I just don't get it. Like, I know you want to make money. This is already a school that we've been, like, announced that there's COVID cases. How do you think this is a good idea?
No, and again, cases per 100,000 people in Indiana is 1,394 right now as of today. So if you down that, to the 20,000 mark, so like 1/5, basically 1/5 of 1,400 people. I really should have done this because I can't do live math.
Live math is the best.
1,400 times 0.2. About 280 people with COVID on average at that location. That
it's just it's stupid. Like I don't understand this to where I know you want to play and playing's even a question, but why would you endanger because really you're endangering your students. And this goes back to the fact that these schools don't give, I shouldn't say these schools, this school does not give a fuck about you. They just want your money to watch a football game. That's what I see from this. And the last thing, and this is the thing I'm most heated about in this college football part is, so I listened to, this is from basically Mark Schalbach and Adam Rittenberg, that sources Thanksgiving weekend start an option for Big Ten football.
Yeah.
And the article reads this, that the Big Ten is discussing Thanksgiving weekend as one of the several options to start its football season, sources told ESPN. An early January start with an 8 or 9 game schedule at indoor venues has generated the most discussion so far, but pushing the season kickoff to around Thanksgiving also is under consideration. So I watched SVP talk about this, and his basic point was, how can you be starting your season up when the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC are getting towards the end of their season? Where he goes, the distraction, you're just going to look stupid, where you're starting your year up when the other teams are like, oh, we're getting ready to fight for a actual championship, not a meaningless tournament at the end. Here's my case with this, Dave. If the Big Ten decides to start Thanksgiving weekend and not go to the spring, this will be them caving, in my mind. Caving to the pressure that they have felt from outside forces, from the parents that we've seen, from the Nebraska students that sued the Big Ten. This would be them caving, in my mind. And I know that it's all a vote, and it all depends on what the schools and their ADs think. But even having this on the docket for me is caving, because the spring option is the best option. Fuck it. I look at so I follow the NAIA because I still follow my college, which is in the NAIA, unanimously. Here's the spring. I even saw on Twitter that my old college, here's your spring schedule for the year that we're going to have starting in late February. And it's just, why do we, I've commended the Big Ten for, okay, you're making the right decision, canceling the season. No, don't start in Thanksgiving. Do not. Keep the spring idea going, because that is the right decision. Either not have football or to play in the spring. Those should be the two options, I think, not starting on Thanksgiving weekend.
I have nothing to add.
Dave's like, basically like Soapy with the Epic Apple. Dave's like, I've beat this topic over the head like a dead horse. Like, I have nothing to add to it.
You just play a clip if you want to.
Dave's like, play the clip, show the clip. We need a clip show. But that's going to do it for Soapy. But my football. That's going to do it for MVP Sports Live. Thank you guys for either checking us out on Twitch or on YouTube, MVP Sports. Remember, we do it live on Twitch, twitch.tv/MVP vids, or you can catch us on YouTube if you ever miss a live show. Join the Discord, link down below in the description, or !Discord if you're in Twitch chat right now, and also help support the channel, patreon.com/MVP vids. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. That's going to do it for Dave and I today. Soapy and I will be live momentarily for MVP Games Live coming up right after Sports Live. Dave and I will be back tomorrow for another Sports Live show. And as always, have a good day, everybody.